that is a little bit of Australian nostalgia there for you. Greetings, agents. This is Private Boulders, the mediocre gamer, and this is the Division 2. I hope you're doing well today. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my content. If you find it useful or helpful at all, please consider liking and or subscribing. Today we are talking about Countdown. If you are familiar with Countdown, then it needs no introduction. If you are not familiar with Countdown, then basically it's a game mode that takes place at the Pentco nuclear power plant. It's for 8 players, and basically, this game mode is basically for the acquisition of loot, because once you successfully extract, you will have in your inventory, somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 50 pieces of gear. So whether you are just farming something like a particular piece of gear or a weapon, or you're looking to complete your library or expertise or something like that, then this is a really great game mode for doing that. It's incredibly efficient. One run lasts about 15 to 20 minutes roughly. And as I mentioned, at the end, you'll have at least 40 to 50 pieces of gear from doing a run. So incredibly efficient. I'm really glad that the devs included this, because some things would really be a grind without this game mode. So if you're not familiar with it, then I hope that this guide gives you some pointers on what to do and what not to do when you're running Countdown. So what I suggest you do is, if we just do some housekeeping, so a couple of things to do before you actually kick off. First thing you want to do is set your targeted loot. So you just do that by going into the map. You click on the Pentco power plant, and then on PC you press H for targeted loot, and then just press something like whatever it is you want to farm. Select it. Obviously you can't farm stuff like system corruption or Jarl, and if it's DZ exclusive or conflict exclusive or raid exclusive, it's not going to drop in here. So if you want the Eagle Bearer, or if you want the Ouroboros, I'm sorry, it's not going to drop in here. But that does leave 95% of other things that will drop in here. So, if you're wanting to farm, the St. Elmo's or something like that, then choose Assault Rifle. If you're wanting to farm the Coyote's Mask, then choose Masks. Alright, so just pick something. Make sure you've got your targeted loot set up before you go. Next thing you want to do is clean out your inventory. Whatever it is, whatever character that you're going to take on this mission, make sure that your inventory is as cleaned out as possible. So as I said, you'll get about 50 pieces of gear. Make sure that you have at least 60 or 70 free spaces in your inventory, just to be on the safe side, because the last thing that you want to do is have your inventory fill up while you are halfway through this mission, and then you have to stop and start, deconstructing gear, because this mission is time-based. So you do need to play this mission with a sense of urgency. So please clean out your inventory. Keep it as minimal as possible. As far as builds go, if you're new to this, then I just suggest you run some kind of DPS build, like a striker or something like that. As you become more confident and familiar with it, then maybe you can look at running something else, but you just want to do damage, basically. Pretty much 95% of the enemies that you're encountering here will be elites. So there'll be those yellow enemies. There are also hunters in here that are also elite. So you want to be able to inflict as much damage into those enemies in as shortest time frame as possible. So go with a DPS build. If you've got a striker, go with a striker. Do not bring drones or turrets or hives into Countdown. That will be frowned upon, and the leader, the group leader, may even kick you from the group if he inspects you prior to the mission starting and sees that you're running, like an assault turret or a striker drone or something like that, um, or even a stinger hive. Because the reason being is that a hunter will hack it and they will use it against you and your teammates. So don't bring a drone or a turret or a hive in. It's just not worth it. It's not worth getting kicked, and it's not worth risking those items being hacked by a hunter and being used against you and your team. All right. Next, the difficulty I would recommend would be challenging. It's not worth heroic, in my opinion. Just go with challenging. It's the most common one. I guarantee that if you select challenging, you will not have to wait very long for a group. Groups are running all the time. You'll get a group pretty quickly, and the gear drops that you get will still be pretty good on challenging. So yeah, just go with challenging. Once you get in there and you start looting things, do not stop to look at what is dropping. Don't, you're not at a supermarket, you're not browsing the aisles, you're not mixing, you're not trying to find out what it is that you've got. Do that at the end. Do that once you have extracted. If you see loot, just pick it up and keep running, or keep fighting, or whatever. Don't stop to look at it, because you don't have the time. If you happen to go down, if your health is depleted, don't respawn, because it means that then you'll have to run back to where your group is actually doing an encounter or an objective. So just and don't call for help. Just go down, press on the spacebar if you're on PC to extend your whatever the status that is, where you're kind of down but not out, and someone will revive you, but don't respawn. Particularly when you go to the final encounter where extraction is, that is a no respawn zone. So if you go down there, you have to leave the raid or the countdown and go back to the base of operations. So you need to play it safe there as well, because if you go down, you can't be revived. And speaking of the final extraction, once you get there, you start clearing out the enemies. There'll be hunters there. There'll be enemies coming in by helicopter and so forth. Do not call for extraction until at least 10 seconds remains. Okay, I've seen it time and time again. There's a minute and a half left on the clock, or 2 minutes left on the clock, or whatever. People call for extraction. Do not do that. This is the time to farm enemies for loot and gear, because they'll be coming in a helicopter. Be 5 or 6 enemies per helicopter. That is your time to farm them. Kill them, and they'll drop loot. I know I have done this, and I've done this a couple of times. Calling for extraction on PC is the F key. And coincidentally, that is also the loot key. So a couple of times I have gone to loot drop gear that is in the extraction zone, and I've called for extraction because I thought I was looting. So that's just a stupid mistake that I have made. It may be a mistake that other people have made as well. They don't actually intend on calling for extraction, but they're looting gear, and because this game is what it is, sometimes you end up calling for extraction. So just be um, very aware of that. So maybe it's safer to either leave the loot there until after someone has called for extraction, or if you want to loot, then just maybe tap the F key rather than pressing and holding, because both those actions do the same thing. And if you do accidentally call for extraction early, then I suggest you apologize, probably in text, probably in the chat. So there are, if we just have a look at the map now, there are 6 zones. There's admin, reactor, turbine, containment, and laboratory. And there are 3 insertion / extraction points, north, east, and west. There are also these 3 locations that you encounter at the start of the map that look like yellow shipping containers, and there's like a console attached to them. And these 3 locations, which you can see here in green, they are guarded by hunters, and they are what are known as countermeasures. So basically, you run up to this, you press and hold F, and that basically activates a countermeasure. I don't know how many countermeasures there are, maybe 10 or 12, and they basically give the team a buff. So it might be something like, a critical hit chance increase, or armor repair, or your reload speed might increase. So there's those 3 locations that you can interact with to gain some kind of buff that will help the team, and it's always random. So be mindful of that. You'll probably see players interacting with them, and you'll get a notification on the screen that is happening, and it'll tell you what buff that you and the team have received. So when you insert into the at the start, when you insert in one of those 3 locations, it'll be you and 3 other players. The other 4 players will be at one of the other 2 insertion zones. You'll meet up somewhere. You'll probably have to deal with 1 or 2 hunters along the way, so just be mindful of that. Hunters are fairly powerful. They're elite mobs. Try and work as a team if you can, and take them down, and work your way through those countermeasure points until you've got all of those 3 countermeasures, and you've got all of the hunters taken care of. So there's hunters at the start, and there's hunters at the end at the extraction. So once you've got your countermeasures, it's then time to move on to a zone. I'm pretty casual about this. I usually just follow along with what the rest of the group is doing. But for efficiency's sake, just go to whatever the closest zone is. It might be turbine, it might be reactor, it might be containment. Just go with whatever's closest. There is one encounter that is protect the VIP. People tend to avoid this encounter because it's fairly slow. So look, I've been with groups where it's been really quick, but as a whole, people tend to avoid it. So just go with whatever the team's doing. Um, so just briefly, there are 5 different encounters. The first one is eliminate the hostiles. That's fairly slow. Uh, there's a few waves of enemies. The second one is prevent hostile upload. Um, that requires you to hack laptops and then destroy servers. Um, so when you go into one of these zones, at reactor or turbine, just keep an eye on your screen because it will actually tell you if there are any objectives that you need to do. So I can't remember the exact wording, but it'll tell you once you run into the zone inside one of these buildings, it'll tell you that you need to prevent the hostile upload. And then it will usually show on your screen like an objective, like for hostile upload, you need to hack a laptop. Uh, so you run up to the laptop and you hack it, and then you clear the area. It may take some time for that upload, for that objective to complete. And while you're doing that, you're clearing the area. So just be mindful of that. Keep an eye on the objectives, because as I said, this is a time-based objective as a whole. So you really need to display a little bit of a sense of urgency so that you're working through those objectives, clearing out the enemies, and getting on to the next one. And then another encounter is neutralize a Warhound team. So all you have to do is once you go in there, your HUD should tell you where the servers are. There'll be 2 different servers, and usually they'll be at opposite ends of the room. So run up because for this one the Warhounds will be invulnerable until you destroy the servers. So um, run to one of the servers, destroy it. Hopefully someone else is running to the other server, destroyed it. Then you can take out the Warhounds. Done. Next type is secure SHD crates. So basically you have to run to the SHD crate and remain in that area until the objective, until that SHD crate is under friendly control. And the more people you have around the SHD crate, the quicker it is done, so it can be done quite quickly. And protect the VIP I've already mentioned. While you're in these rooms, there will be a crate that you can loot. The crates are always static locations, like there might be 3 or 4 different locations it can be at, but it's always a random location that the crate is at. So just have a look around while you're running around shooting things or completing objectives. Have a look for the crate, and if you can see that no one has looted it, then go and loot it, or someone may have already looted it, so then that will give you the opportunity to acquire that loot as well. So you need to complete 2 encounters before you can start the main encounter. So there's a lot of running involved. You'll find that this is a lot of running, and then a minute or 2 or 3 of intense combat, and then you're running again. So you run to the first encounter, you do that, then you run to the next encounter, you do that, and then you go to the main encounter. And once you get to the main encounter, there'll be objectives that you need to do. If you're at containment, you might need to, you might need to like shoot something and then hack a terminal or something like that. If you're at the cooling tower, you might have to shoot valves and then hack a terminal. If you're at the lab, you may need to once again get to the consoles, stuff like that, um, uh, and so forth. So just remember that, try and work as a team, try and help clear the enemies, um, do the objectives, and then, that gets us done as quick as possible, which then leaves you as much time as possible at the extraction zone. Um, yeah. So when you move to extraction, um, it's best to do this as a team. So if you get there first, just hang back for a little bit. Don't start engaging enemies by yourself, because you'll get swarmed and you'll die, and then you'll have to go back to the base of operations, and you'll miss out on your extraction bonus and so forth, and you'll miss out on loot. So, uh, and if you're doing this with, as matchmaking or something like that, it can be a little bit hectic or chaotic. But yeah, try and tackle the extraction zone as a team. If you see hunters, try and target them first. Try and use cover. Um, and if you see a group of players that are targeting a hunter, yeah, jump in and target that hunter, because they do heal themselves, and they heal their armor right up to full. So they don't usually start to try and heal themselves until all their armor is depleted and they're about at half health. So it's really important and vital that you take those hunters down as quickly and efficiently as possible. And the only way you can do that is working as a team. So, um, that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes people just want to do their own thing and, um, you know, do whatever. You can't control that. Don't get mad. But, just try and do the best you can. You'll still get through to your extraction if you've got 8 players. Even if someone disconnects, that's bad luck. You can still do it with 7 players. 6 players is starting to get dicey, but you know. But just try and use cover. Um, have some situational awareness. Watch for the choppers coming in, um, and just try and clear the area as possible, as quickly as possible. Once you get through the hunters and the initial wave of enemies, it's fairly easy going from there. Just clear the choppers as they come in. I'll say it again. Don't call for extraction until at least 10 seconds is remaining on the timer, just so that you can maximize the amount of loot you get, and everyone else will be happy. Um, and then once you do extract, you'll get rewards for in the way of countdown requisition. You can then go to the countdown vendor and spend that requisition. They usually have some pretty good gear, usually named items. Pretty sure they have exotic caches and named item caches and stuff like that you can buy with your countdown requisition. Um, and then once you've done that, go through your gear, favorite any gear that you wanted, deconstruct the rest, clear out your inventory, and if you want to, go again, rinse and repeat. It can be a lot of fun. It can be very rewarding. And yeah, if you're after that, that elusive item or weapon, then chances are you'll get it in countdown. Um, but yeah, I hope I haven't missed anything. I think I've covered the main points. It does take a bit of getting used to, but after you've run it a few times, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know what this is about. I can do this. Yeah, I think that's about it. But I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. That's all for now, agents. Good luck with Countdown, and until next time, stay safe out there and take care.